ACPD, sound check 1, ACPD, January 9th. Good afternoon, everybody. As today is the first day, who's echoing?
Yeah, it's okay, go ahead.
Today is the first day of the new term for the Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities. So I, as the clerk for the committee, am calling this meeting to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and on the YouTube and the city's website. And the webcast will be recorded and retained on the city's website. Just a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. I will now commence with a roll call. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Hope Bonifant. Ben Cullimore. Lance Dingman.
Yeah.
Unmuted.
Skylar Dunford gave regrets. Anthony Frisina will be attending later in the meeting. Kara Hernold.
I'm here.
Levi Genosi.
Here.
Leif Johansson.
Here.
Hargan Carr. He expressed that he might have to express regrets today. James Kemp.
Here.
Paula Kilburn.
Yeah.
Jake Maurice. Jake, I thought I saw you here.
I am here, yes. Sorry, I was still muted.
Mark McNeil. I'm sure I saw Mark as well. Tim Murphy.
Here.
Kim Nolan.
Here.
Tim Nolan.
Here.
0.
Michael Apaku Forfait.
Present.
Robert Westbrook. And Councillor Mark Tattison.
Present.
I will now read the Hamilton Land Acknowledgement. The City of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. The first order of business on the agenda is number 1, the appointment of the committee chair and vice chair. So I'm going to, at this time, ask for nominations for the position of ACPD chair until the new committee for 2024.
I'd like to make a nomination.
Yes, Lance?
I'd like to nominate James for chair.
That's what I was gonna do.
1 second. Hold on, Lance, your microphone wasn't on?
Sorry. Sorry for that. Carrie, if you don't mind, I would like to nominate James for chair for ACPT for 2024 and onward.
That's a nomination for James Kemp for chair for 2024. Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Levi?
Oh, wait.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing no other nominations, I'm going to ask for a vote on the nomination for James Kemp for chair for 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Mark's raised his hand. Any opposed?
Receive chat message from Bates. Tomorrow.
I didn't see any opposed. Welcome, Chair.
Hey.
You can take over now. Thank you.
A second, there we go. I gotta organize my microphone. Okay, now on to the appointment of committee vice chair. May I please have nominations for the position of ACPD vice chair for 2024? Any nominations for the position of vice chair?
James, can you have everybody turn their cameras on?
If anybody's able to, can you please turn your cameras on? It'd be a little easier for us to see with so many on the screen.
Sorry, not the consultants, just the committee members.
Sorry, just the committee members. My apologies.
Sorry, Lorenzo.
I will nominate Paula if that's possible.
Paula is waiting for
You have to hand the chair.
She's muted.
Oh, I have to okay, well, I'll wait and see if anybody else nominates anybody, and then I'll.
Mark has his hand up.
Go ahead. Oh, wait, I forgot about this computer screen. Here we go. That's better. All right. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Message from Hope. I unfortunately don't have a working
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll nominate Paula.
Thank you. We got one nomination for Paula. Do I have a second?
Thank you, Mark.
Seconder, Lance. Sorry, I'm going to use this. Too many things to look at here. Lance, okay. Is there? Well, it'd be easier if we just. Is there any opposed?
message.
Mark has his hand up.
Are you still have your hand up, Mark, or is it from before? Okay, so I don't see anybody that's opposed.
Pay attention unmuted. Video off.
Vice Chair. So I guess that's carried?
Optimize for my voice for WebEx Smart.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I believe that's carried. So Paula, you are Vice Chair for the ACPD. Sorry, this has thrown me off, this whole in the middle of thing. I apologize. Okay, we'll get the hang of this. So would all the staff who are present please introduce themselves for their name and position?
Carrie McIntosh, Legislative Coordinator.
Mayor?
Rebecca Benke, Project Manager, Community Inclusion and Equity.
I said you're next on the list.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you very much, though. Thank you very much, though.
Tamara Bates, Legislative Coordinator.
Thank you. Dr. Richardson?
Hi there, Elizabeth Richardson, Medical Officer of Health for Public Health Services.
Thank you. Andre?
Hi, everyone. Andre Zavaglia, Senior Project Manager, Business Support with HSR.
Okay. And Lorenzo? Is there Lorenzo?
He's muted.
Oh, okay.
Lorenzo, you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Lorenzo Soma, implementation consultant working with the HSR.
Thank you. Are there any other staff present that haven't introduced themselves? No? Okay, thank you. Approval of agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, the following changes were made to the agenda. Changes to the order of items. Number 11, discussion items. The following item will be moved up on the agenda to be considered following item 4.1, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. 11.1, Board of Health governance and the needs of persons with disabilities in Hamilton.
Thank you. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as amended? Levi, seconded by Mark. Thank you. Is there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Number 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, approval of minutes of the previous meeting, 4.1, December 12, 2023. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes? Lance, seconded by Paula. Thank you very much. Is there any opposed? Seeing none, the minutes are carried. Thank you. We'll be moving up to the 11.1 Board of Health Governance and Needs of Persons with Disabilities in Hamilton. Dr. Elizabeth Richardson, Medical Officer of Health, is in attendance to speak to the committee about the Board of Health Governance and the needs of persons with disabilities in Hamilton. Dr. Richardson.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to speak with you. So my understanding was, in terms of where we've been at so far, is that one of the consultants who'd worked on this project had come and spoken with you, some members of the committee, back in the summertime and got some information. And then I have to apologize for being late and coming back. I think we had a bit of a miscommunication about when we wanted to come back about what. And so we've ironed that out and I'm here today. My understanding is for today that wanted to sort of talk a little bit about where we were at in the project that had gone on in looking at governance and where it's at with council. And it's still sitting with council for decision making, the next meeting being at Public Health Committee on January 15th. And so there was a discussion at a point about maybe coming back and talking more about our programs and services more generally, which happy to do, but just wanted to check in with committee. I was planning to give you sort of a quick overview. Many of you will have heard it when the consultant was here in the summertime about what the options were that were being considered for governance, and then go over the recommendations and where we're at, and then hear any further discussion that the committee wanted to have. Does that work, Mr. Chair? Chair?
Not off. I thought that was going to be longer. Thank you very much, Dr. Richardson. So then I guess it's just if there's any questions for Dr. Richardson at this time, and then we can speak further, or you do have a presentation.
No, Chair, sorry, I wasn't clear there. I was just wanted to make sure that that was the committee's expectations for today, and then I'll do a brief overview of the governance models, the recommendations, just quickly go through those. But I did see that there was a hand up, so I wanted to just make sure if I was off track and people wanted something more that I make sure to address that.
Okay, Mark, is it a quick question before we get into this, or?
I think I lost signal there. Dr. Richardson, I just wanted to ask one quick question. Is this in regards to the change in governance, where it would include, well, originally it was to include somebody who was from a disabled or had a, not a disabled, but a minority perspective on that board?
Yeah, why don't I go through and give that description, because that's that has evolved as it's been discussed.
Okay, so then we'll save that question for the end if you have any more questions, and Mark, that's great.
No, that was just for my own recognition.
Okay, yep.
All right, so the current, it's a little bit complicated, and so the way it works is in Ontario there are different ways that public health services can be governed, and they could have one of four models. One is a completely separate organization that's just an independent organization with an independent board, and most of Ontario's health units are governed in that way. The membership of the board is made up of municipal members. There's a majority of municipal members from whatever municipalities they serve. The largest one served 42 different municipalities, so you can imagine it's a bit challenging to get membership, diverse membership on the board. And then there are usually provincially appointed members of the public who sit on those boards. For 6 public health units in Ontario, the regional council sits as the board of health. And so that happens in Halton, Durham. And so it's just the councillors who are the regional council who govern those boards of health. For 2, they have what's called a semi-autonomous model. And so for Ottawa and Toronto, council has asked the province to allow them to have a mixed membership board of public members and city members that they themselves appoint. And then all the policy decisions are made by those boards, and just a few decisions are reserved for city council. And then finally, there are what we call single-tier boards of health, which are very much like the regional councils. It's just that they're in single-tier municipalities. Hamilton is one of those. So all of our council acts as the Board of Health. And the staff are part of the city administrative structure, and there are no public members who sit on those boards. So there's only ourselves in Hamilton and Haldeman Norfolk who have that model of governance. So there had been during the pandemic, and there had been discussions about it previously, but particularly during the pandemic, there had been several delegations to the Public Health Committee to ask for this issue of governance to be looked at. There was a preferred model for governance that was put forward. And I believe, Mark, that's in part what you were speaking to in terms of, you know, who would be on the actual board itself as a public member. There was also, as part of that process, a nomination or selection committee process that again would have a particular way of being constituted. And then there was included in that as well that there would be questions for those that are being considered to be on the Board of Health that would come from various groups, including this committee, in terms of questions to be asked during the selection process. So we have worked with the consultant. This consultant has interviewed a number of people across, I think it was about 68 or 63, I think it was, key informant interviews, which included people from this advisory committee, other advisory committees, health sector leaders, community partners, the prior delegates who had come forward were all interviewed. There was a public survey that was done with 928 responses to that went through Engage Hamilton. And then the Hamilton Anti-Racism Resource Center and the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion held an evening event inviting attendees to come there as well. And there were 50 attendees at that event that also gave input. So they considered three options. One was to look at an advisory committee being added. And so we would continue to have a public health standing committee reporting to council, but add an advisory committee to which issues would be directed from the public health committee as the public health committee saw fit. And that would have community representatives on it. The second was to change the membership of the Public Health Standing Committee, so it was a mixed membership, public member and councillor membership committee, but still report to council, who would be the final decision makers. And then finally was the third option was to do what Ottawa and Toronto did, where they had a semi-autonomous board and they would oversee all of the public health programs and services and have the final decision making, be a mixed membership board made up of city councillors and public members who would be selected through some manner. And that that board could indeed be fully autonomous or semi-autonomous. So as they went through, did the consultation, the consultants came back with their report, which is part of a report that went first to the governance subcommittee of council and then to the audit and finance committee in December of this year, and now is coming back for discussion at the public health committee on January the 15th, as I was saying. And the majority of the participants felt that that third option with changing the structure and membership of the Board of Health was the most suitable for Hamilton. And so to transition to a semi-autonomous board, and to do that, we can't just do that ourselves. To do that, we have to get provincial legislation changed in order to make that happen, because that is all happens under the City of Hamilton Act and the Health Protection and Promotion Act. The people that were consulted with said, however, you know, that's going to take some time in terms of getting that in place. That would probably take, from talking to our colleagues in Ottawa, about 2 years to really get fully implemented. So the recommendation was, in the meantime, could the membership of the Public Health Standing Committee be changed to be a mixed membership committee? While that's something the city can decide without talking to the province, there would be changes needed to the procedural bylaw for the city, because our standing committees otherwise are wholly made up of councillors. The other feedback that was given was that the selection process for those public members should be transparent. to make sure that there was on that membership overall the necessary competencies, skills to oversee the public health services organization, and that the selection of those members be based in best practices, be based on skills and competencies, be based on demographic information in terms of representation, and as well further consultation with the community. They said it was very important to make sure that the members were trained and educated about public health concepts, and that there was strong board collaboration, partnerships, accountability, and reporting. And so the recommendations that were made through a report to, as I said, went to governance and then to audit, finance, and administration, and then on now to public health committee for discussion, were that council approve in principle a semi-autonomous board of health with features similar to Toronto and Ottawa, and that we begin to prepare the package to go to the province for special legislation to make that so. That we would report back to the Public Health Committee with a plan to implement those changes and to establish that. And it does take some time and work to make that happen. And as well, that as an interim solution that council move forward with this change in membership to the standing committee to include 6 council representatives, 6 community representatives, and 1 education representative, which is the Toronto model. And that the selection process that would be used would be the same as is used for all committees. And so go through the usual city selection process. And we would bring back to committee both the changes that would be needed to the procedural bylaw, but also the qualifications and criteria for selecting the community representatives to ensure it represented the community and had the necessary skills and competencies. We did outline in the report itself, what that selection would look like, some initial ideas, so that it wasn't just a vacuum in terms of those issues, and that included, looking at demographics, looking at the things that I talked about earlier, but also continuing to involve advisory committees such as this one in the generation of questions that would be used for the selection. And ultimately, it would be up to the selection committee itself to ensure that there was a well-balanced representation around the Board of Health table. So that, in a nutshell, Chair, is where we're at in the process. As I said, it's going back for deliberation at the Public Health Committee on Monday, and then we will see where Council is at with their decision-making. Happy to take any questions.
Microphone again, sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Richardson. I believe we do have a question already. Mark, do you still have a question?
Yes.
After you, sir.
All right. I noticed the discussion item is Board of Health governance and the needs of persons with disabilities in Hamilton. And when we first saw the first model or draft, it did have somebody that might be picked from a number of people who would be community-based, that would be cognizant of those issues. I can't say they would have to essentially be disabled. Certainly I don't qualify, but I mean, we just like to make sure that there's nothing about us without us involved in those decision makings. And, in the past couple of, past 4 years, 5 years, maybe, there's been a couple of instances where we were concerned, emergency response, that type of thing. And we just want to make sure that you're listening to all voices, especially those who are the most vulnerable. So that's what my concern was. And it seems to be moving away from that model again, or if this model goes ahead, the one that doesn't need approval, and it will take 2 years, do you think somebody might just say, hey, this is working, let's just leave it as it is? Anyway, those are my concerns with this issue and the issue as it was raised last spring. That mostly commentary. I guess you can't really respond. So without a finite model yet. So anyway, thanks very much.
I guess the question then, Dr. Richardson, would be, is there a consideration for people with disabilities of that 6?
Through you, Chair, the iteration that I'm aware of that was out there had that the provision around the questions rather than for the membership per se. I think the challenge for us, and this is why we didn't want to bring back the criteria straight away, because we needed to understand, you know, how this sat with council, what further input there might be about it, was that we absolutely feel that there needs to be, you know, principles of equity embedded in this. This was part of the workup to these, the direction by council was around issues around equity and governance, and the principles that you noted, Mark, about nothing about us without us, and thinking about that across a number of vulnerable communities and vulnerable groups in our community. And so I think ultimately this is where we're going to come back with criteria, and that's why we started to suggest them in the report, was to speak about that kind of representation needs to be part of the consideration that the selection committee has. And ultimately, I know the selection committee, in trying to decide the final membership, will have a number of groups and members that they're going to be looking at. How do we balance those issues ultimately across all those communities and across, you know, all of the information and context that they can bring to bear in decision making. So I would say, yes, absolutely. That's part of what we're mindful of in bringing forward the criteria as we suggested in the report. And if we're asked to go to the next step, that I would see that continuing in the generation of those criteria. But it will ultimately be up to the selection committee to decide across the many, you know, groups and issues that they need to decide between with the 6-member representation, how best to accomplish that.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. Kara, I believe, is next up on the speakers list.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Richardson, for that helpful explanatory on the history of where we're at. I've just myself joined the advisory committee today, so this is a one-time legislative change, correct? And that needs to happen with the City of Hamilton Act as well as the Health Protection Act. So there's 2 pieces of legislation that needs to be changed, correct?
Through you, Chair, if I may. So we're quite certain that the City of Hamilton Act needs to be changed. We've had dialogue already with the Office of the Chief Medical Officer of Health at the provincial level, and they are just clarifying the degree to which any change in the Health Protection Promotion Act might also be needed. So I think that whether it ends up being 2 or is just the one is yet to be confirmed, but it would be a, you know, legislative change that would be sought together. And I might just mention as well, in terms of timing, the province is looking at the Ontario Public Health Standards, which is the sort of overarching framework of what we're supposed to provide through the Board of Health, through public health services, whether it's, you know, communicable disease control and immunizations like we had during the pandemic is a big focus, or it's chronic disease work, or it's healthy babies work, whatever it may be. And so it really is a good time. It is good timing in discussion with the Office of the Chief MOH to bring forward any changes that are wanted to be made in terms of timeliness and alignment with other things they're doing.
Okay. All right, that is helpful and like good context, I think, for kind of the broader things that are happening, you know, at a level of government above the city here. And then how often are people appointed to, to the board? I assume it's once per council term. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair. So that is what happens in Toronto and Ottawa. Ultimately, that would have to be what's decided as part of the procedural and changes. I don't know if clerks would like to make any further comment on that.
No further comment through the chair.
Seems pretty good. Okay. Anything else, Kara?
Yeah, I guess I understand, you know, this is kind of an interim step and a FYI to this particular committee today, but will this committee have an opportunity to comment on the selection criteria?
At this point, through you, Chair, they would be going back directly to Public Health Committee. If you'd like to make any comments now, I'd be more than happy to note them as we're, if we're given the opportunity to work on those. Otherwise, I'd be at the disposal of committee, given the way that the current recommendations stand, of our Public Health Committee.
Yeah, I don't have any comments right now, without reviewing the selection criteria. It's more of just, will we be provided that opportunity? And if so, when, where, and how? and that's it for me.
Thank you, Kara. Mark. Oh, it's still up. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, the only thing I recall from that meeting at that time was the possibility of drafting questions to be provided to prospective candidates from this committee. I don't know if you recall that, James, but I certainly recall that at the first instance when we saw this. And I guess that was maybe even the second iteration, because the first iteration had actually mentioned somebody from a group of a diversified group, and then it was removed, and then there was questions that would be that could be drafted by the committee, similar to the police services membership. In any case, is that not still the plan, to have questions drafted by interested parties, including this committee?
Through you, Chair. So yes, in the suggestions that we've put forward in the report as it stands today, so these have not yet gone forward as recommendations from a process perspective, but as I said earlier, we wanted to give an idea of what we were thinking about as it went forward. And so yes, continuing to come to this committee and asking for questions to be used in that selection process was part of what we were suggesting might come forward at the next stage.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, are you asking for questions from the committee now or at a later date?
At a later date, please.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, I believe that's it for the speakers list, unless anybody else has anything else. No? Okay, so we will receive the presentation for Dr. Richardson. So I believe moved by Mark. I see Mark's hand up right away. Seconded by Paula. Are there any opposed to receiving the presentation from Dr. Richardson? No? Okay, motion's carried. Thank you very much, Dr. Richardson, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Next up is 8, staff presentations. 8.1, HSR's e-paper digital display pilot. Andre Zavaglia, Senior Project Manager, Transit Business Support, and Lorenzo Soma, Consultant, are in attendance to speak about HSR's e-paper digital display pilot. Take it away, please.
Hey everyone, thank you for having us here this afternoon. I appreciate your time and willingness to review this presentation with us. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a short slide deck that Lorenzo and I will present to you, and then we look forward to hearing your questions. And let me just share that so we get it up on screen.
Before you get started, just a reminder that some people here have vision issues, and if you could describe what you're putting up on the screen, it'd be much easier. Thanks.
Sure, I'll do my best. If there's any questions, feel free to stop me if you need me to go back or cover anything differently. I'm happy to do so. As mentioned, we're here to talk about our e-paper digital display pilot, which is proposed. It hasn't kicked off yet. One of the things that we looked at was where our purpose and
Andre, can I just ask you to make it a slideshow?
Oh, sure.
Sorry about that.
Slideshow. Apologies. Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
Sorry about that. And all right. one of the things we looked at was purpose and opportunity, where we could do things. Oh, I can't be click happy with the slideshow. Where we could make things better for our customers. And one of the things that we identified was our real-time information. So our purpose and opportunity here is to improve our real-time information for any typical transit use, any planned or unplanned service disruptions, and improve accessibility to real-time information for all of our customers. So what you see on the left side of the screen is an example of an e-paper papercast display screen, which displays a route and bus line with the approximate arrival time. And as we go through the slide deck, there'll be a bit more information on some of the capabilities that these units have and what we're proposing through the course of the pilot. So how we're road mapping the pilot is we were approached by one of the vendors, and they've agreed to loan us two e-paper e-ink units to trial briefly to gather some information on functionality and to assess some of our customer needs. So that loan is about 120 days, and what we hope to do from that is put them up at some key locations to gather some critical feedback on how we would truly roll out a pilot to best serve our customer base. So after the end of that proof of concept trial, we would then move into a one-year pilot. So we would move from the two loaner units into about half a dozen units in a one-year pilot. So during that one-year pilot, we would have ongoing feedback, ongoing touch points with our community members, the ACPD committee members, and anybody who's really impacted and by this trial and has had an opportunity to use its functionality, assess it, and really see how it's improved service for all of our customers. At the end of the pilot, we will review all the feedback. We will take a look at the impact of costs, a feasibility to continue with the display units, and then provide a recommendation for future state. And that recommendation is going to come in the form of one of three things: is maintain the units we have through the course of the pilot without expansion. We build a business case for leadership and council to expand additional units, or we identify that we didn't truly find the value in the course of the pilot to move forward with anything, in which case we sunset the program and don't move any further. So with that, I will let Lorenzo move into some detail on the actual product.
Thank you, Andre. Thanks a lot, everyone, for seeing us today. We really appreciate it. So here we have a sample display. It's an image, it's a digital image that shows how the display unit may look at a bus stop. It's got a display pole on the left and a bus shelter on the right. It's depicting two customers waiting. You can see there's a solar panel there, and there's the little screen, just to give you an idea of what one of these would look like if at a bus stop. So the displays themselves, you can give us the next slide, Andre. So here are some of the benefits for the e-paper display. First big one is the real-time updates, bus arrivals, details, delays, and detours. Pretty much in real time, these displays can tell us everything that's going on, with other features like what the weather's like and what have you, but that real-time updates. The visibility and readability. These guys are incredibly easy to read, adjustable fonts, high contrast screens, and they're readable in direct sunlight. And they also feature a multi-sensory alerts, so they can the displays can integrate auditory and visual alerts, ensuring clear notifications for all users. And then going in a bit detail, if you're going to go, thank you. So the displays themselves have a high color contrast. So for visual clarity, they have enhanced readability. It's a very sharp contrast between black and white text on the background or vice versa. So that makes them very easily readable even at a distance or in direct sunlight. The design themselves is a distinctive design. It's got a customizable layout that the content of the display can actually be tailored to maximize readability and impact. And then with the contrast features there, it makes the information very easy to read, and aids navigation, so accessibility focused. This clarity is particularly beneficial for visually impaired users, making these displays more inclusive and easier to navigate. For the ease of operation, the displays are one-handed operations, so they display features simple one-handed operable interfaces suitable for users with limited dexterity. There are no complex movements required. The user interface for the e-paper display avoids the need for tight grasping, pinching, or twisting motions, and it has a very user-friendly interface. They are known for their straightforward intuitive.
We lost you, Lorenzo.
Use very easily.
Sorry, Lorenzo, we lost you in
Did you lose me?
the last bit there.
The last little bit. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So user-friendly interface. So the displays are known for their straightforward, intuitive user interfaces, accommodating a wide range of users. Okay. And then finally, the display's accessibility features. So its mounting height. Go to the next slide, Andre.
Are you seeing the next slide there? I'm on the next.
Okay, I will take your word for it. I'm not seeing it, but I believe you.
Can everyone see
there it is.
my next slide there? There we go.
Accessibility. Excellent. So the mounting height is flexible mounting options for the e-paper displays ensure that they can be positioned and to be accessible to both seated and standing users, ensuring unobstructed access to information and interactive features for all users. And there is a possible Braille integration. The feature will be requested for the pilot period, so not on the immediate trial. And the e-paper display can be equipped with Braille labels on or near the display for users to who read Braille. But of course, it also comes with the audio feature that at the push of a button, you can hear the next stops in the immediate train or for the immediate bus. So that, in a nutshell, is an e-paper display. 2 to start, and if it works out, we'll take it from there. Are there any questions?
Thanks very much, Lorenzo. And sorry, Andre, I had to scroll over there to get your name. I believe we have a couple of questions on the speakers list already, so I will start with Paula.
Hi, Paula. Nope, move up.
Paula.
Hi, Paula.
She's waved on.
Oh, there we go. I couldn't find my button, sorry. Nothing worse than losing your button. So the audible part of this, can you expand a little bit more on that?
Microphone button.
Sure. So basically, these particular units, the ones that we're doing for the proof of concept, for that period of time, we can actually program the buttons to provide an auditory based on whatever the need is for the unit at that location. So it is configurable based on unit, based on location. So we could have a static, button 1 means the same thing every time, or we could have specific use cases at different locations. It can be as simple as, read out when the bus comes. It could include, as we improve our internal services with detour notifications in our real-time alerts, that will automatically come down to the units directly, so it could include that in the push of a button. Could be specific messaging that's put on by HSR for events or anything else that they need to coordinate. So there's really quite a bit of flexibility. The one thing I didn't touch on at the very beginning, just for a little bit of clarity, for the proof of concept, we're provided these particular units to do some data collection and some information gathering. The actual pilot period, because we, in the city of Hamilton, we have to go through proper procurement in order to do some of that stuff. So that will help us build our requirements gathering. So a lot of the features and functionality will be available in the units that are procured for the pilot, or it may not be the exact unit. So we'll ask for all of the same features and functionality you've seen presented here today. It just may be slightly different when we actually get to that second step of the pilot phase due to the steps we have to take for proper procurement.
I'll add on to Andre's point that on just a simple level, like if you can imagine pushing a button, and if you remember the old calling the bus check, it essentially sounds like that. Route 5 Delaware, next bus at designated time, and it would also provide information like the one that we saw in Burlington has, this bus is wheelchair accessible, full audio readout, and then it would be the next couple buses or any bus that's at that stop.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Paula?
Paula, you're muted.
Okay, maybe we should come back around. We'll come back around to you, Paula, in case you have another question. Going on to Jake for the moment.
I do.
So I have a couple questions, most of which were answered. But I was wondering for feedback for the trial period. Is there going to be multiple ways for folks to give feedback, like email, phone, meetings, however? That is one of the questions that I had.
Yeah, so we recognized, that not everybody has the same capabilities to provide feedback in the one way that, everybody moves to a certain direction with technology and everybody expects everybody to, adapt. And for, that's not the case. Everybody has a different way of doing it. So we really hope that you guys, based on what you see, are as excited about this pilot as we are. And we hope to come back to this committee and garner some feedback. We are, looking at a multitude of ways to collect feedback via email. We're going to have an option for an actual QR code right on the display unit. So for those that are savvy with their phones, they could bring up a little questionnaire directly from that mobile unit. For those that need other ways, we're also open to ways we haven't thought about of ways that may make it more accessible to the community to give us that feedback and make sure that we're hearing all the voices.
I'll add to that, the technology itself, it's pretty versatile. So the imagery that can appear on the display, most like an image or message can be displayed. So I think most of the ways you can imagine, how would one display, any feedback from a paper, from a sheet of paper, same sort of concept with e-paper. So yeah, the displays themselves are very, very versatile for what we can relay with them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had one more question, if that's okay. I was also wondering if these get fully implemented, if they would be at every bus stop or if they would only be at select higher traffic locations.
So the HSR, I think, has around 2,500 bus stops. So I don't anticipate we would be able to fund a project of that size, just speaking from a plain point of view, we are hopeful that we can hit all of the key access points, all of the terminals, all of the hubs, all of the multi-bus stops. Looking forward to what a business case would look like. I have sort of a bit of a vision of that already, and any place where there's shared services. There's critical services, hospitals, medical centers, transition point, high priority hubs where, it may be difficult to get some of that real time information and putting it at the fingertips. Now, again, sort of putting that in a bit of a box there. That vision is subject to, proof of concept. Pilot, because with the pilot we'll only have, we're estimating about half a dozen units for the pilot, so we'll be looking at high traffic areas. If there are some recommendations for some known trouble areas where committee members are saying, hey, you know what, some of the members struggle really heavily in these areas, definitely let us know, and we can put that in the cycle. One of the things about these particular units is if we find we're not getting a lot of good traction at a specific location, we can move them, right? So they are highly flexible, units, and that's one of the things that helped, made us gravitate towards them is we really want to make this a true customer solution. I really like the term I heard from Mark earlier, and I don't know if he coined it specifically or if it's a known one, but nothing about us without us. I really loved that when I heard it a little bit earlier, and
I like that one too.
Yeah, and I think that's what this is about. That's why we're here today, is to make sure before we take that first step, is that there might be something that we're not considering, and we could head that off before we open the doors, and this is really that opportunity for us to get to know each other through this pilot project.
And just add on there from the displays themselves, so they're designed to go into an existing infrastructure. So they're solar powered and they're designed to go onto an existing pole, which makes it very adaptable they don't need to be on the grid per se, and they need like a SIM card. So it's very adaptable where they can go, which is fantastic.
Yeah, thanks very much. And next up on the speakers list is Mark.
Can I go back, James?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Are these screens touch screen?
So these particular screens are not touchscreen. They do have specific buttons which call out, the audibles based on what the buttons would be programmed to do. If there's a requirement for a touchscreen, that's something we would probably explore when we get into those features and functionalities.
Receive chat message from Bates. Tomorrow.
You also add some additional complications and not complications, complexities, and with that comes additional cost. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to present a solution that is, it's value for everybody, but it's also cost responsible when we present to the city. So at this time, they're not touchscreen. There may be down the road some appetite or engagement for specific locations where maybe at a popular LRT station we're looking at having some enhanced features that where touchscreen would be very valuable. But at this time and through this course of the project, I would say the short answer is no.
Sorry.
Receive chat message from Michael
Braille. Sorry. You have to realize there's only 8% of people with vision loss that use Braille, right? The majority of them only use grade 1 Braille. So be mindful of that when you do Braille on the buttons. Okay. And the other thing is, how loud are these going to be? Because if it's right next to traffic, if you're trying to listen to an audible thing, you're not going to be able to hear it.
Okay.
I believe they are controllable Lorenzo, for volume control. I'm not sure what the capacity is, but I do believe that's within our control, considering, if it's an extremely quiet zone, we don't want it too loud next to a resident's house, but we also we don't want it to be completely inaudible that it's pointless to be at a location, right? So those are part of the things that we work out during a trial and see where the value is in those things. With regards to the Braille, I think before we had anything printed, we would definitely be coming back and looking for some expert advice on that before we had anything printed, to make sure we captured, as many people as possible with the right messaging in Braille.
Thanks. Okay, Mark is next up on the speakers list.
I don't have to ask the one about touchscreen, but going back to volume, it's not just about traffic noise. There are some people who have hearing loss issues, and you could turn up the volume on a limited basis with a 30-second timeout to restore it back to nominal level, so that people could just hear it if they needed to.
That's definitely a takeaway. I'm not familiar with that function, but as we mentioned, there are some significant customizations with these particular products. So definitely we can take that away and see if that's something that's in the trial products, and if not, that's something we can look at potentially including in our pilot project as a request.
I think it's about 10 lines of code.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a little bit outside of my skill set, for coding it, but I definitely have no issues asking for it.
And from the ones that we experienced in Burlington, they're pretty clear and loud. I remember when we went and looked out, there were two elderly gentlemen there that they remarked that it was quite clear that they could hear it. But yeah, absolutely something that we can look into is whether volume control is a possibility. I know there can be adjustments for an audio plugin, so that's also something we can investigate.
Okay, thank you. I believe next up on the speakers list is Kara.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Andre and Lorenzo. I'm very excited about this project. This looks really great. A number of my questions have already been answered, but I guess my initial question is, was the city considering a transit display system prior to being approached by this vendor?
Yeah, so the conversation has definitely come up with the I'm making a bit of an assumption here because I haven't been at one of these committee meetings before, but with the changes to the proposed changes to the transit network, with the forthcoming LRT, there's definitely been some conversations about how we're going to display some of this information. So the vendor approached with the opportunity, not completely without some involvement from us, asking questions. They took that opportunity to present something that was favorable for us to take a closer look at the proof of concept at that time. With regards to digital displays, I would say yes, we have a definite need, and this is our opportunity to really figure out what those needs are and really get it right.
Okay, that's helpful. And then I guess a follow-up to that is the intention to use this particular vendor for the proof of concept and then put together an RFP between the proof of concept and the pilot, so that there may be a different vendor, i.e. the displays may be different in between those two steps of the process.
Yeah, so I did mention earlier that the pilot units may be different than the proof of concept ones, and for that we have some very specific policies on our procurement, and so we have to have a balanced approach to how we procure products and make sure that we're an equal. We're doing things essentially above board and fairly for all of the vendors out there. This is really to give us some exposure so we can understand how to prepare, like the types of questions that are going to be asked, the types of, like I can sit in a room and I can come up with what I think all the needs are, and I can, shuffle that around to a bunch of different people. But until I see it in my hands, it's really where those questions are going to come from. And that's why having this trial before the pilot is really valuable. But definitely, when we do the RFP, those critical components that we identify are going to be a requirement in the RFP. Right.
Okay.
So it isn't going to matter if it's so much that it's a different vendor. It's what's going to matter is that, if we expect there to be volume control, whoever the vendor is has to provide volume control, right? And maybe these guys don't. Right? They could, they might do the proof of concept and they don't have that ability, and we identify that as a missing piece. That becomes part of our RFP or RFQ, however we move forward with that.
Okay.
But this is a requirement gathering exercise for us as well.
Okay, great.
I can add, I guess. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, please, Lorenzo.
Yeah. Just and that, like for my own role, and like I'm in this as a business analyst, and my aim is to look at all stakeholders and gather that acceptance criteria as well. But a big part of that, it's a bit of a back and forth that people have to experience it and see it, and that's where we start here, and then we take that feedback, and of course, yeah, we'll get all of the requirements for a bigger rollout.
Okay, and then I guess my next question to your point.
Kara, we've got a lot of people in the speakers list.
Sorry.
So can I put you on for a second question if there's time?
Sure.
Thank you. Next up on the speakers list is Tim Nolan.
Hi, Tim.
Actually, it's Kim Nolan, James.
Oh, sorry, Kim Nolan.
That's okay. And also, just go to all first-time speakers first, please. I've been waiting forever, and I've got 3 questions now, but anyway, my first question was, okay, how big are these monitors? What's the sizes of the monitors?
Andre or Lorenzo?
Lorenzo,
the sizes, okay.
Specification?
Yeah, sure. They have the ones that we're looking at come in like various sizes. From the 13-inch is the one that we're looking at right now for the simple bus display, but they do have larger horizontal displays. They range from 13 to like 48 inches. There's a wide variety of sizes. But the base one that we're going with, it's a 13.3-inch display. And then, from that, we definitely part of the requirement gathering is like looking at things like, is that sufficient? But yeah, there are a variety of sizes that the displays come in.
Yeah, and just keeping in mind that when we change sizes, so if we go to a larger size, it changes the requirement for potentially power or whether or not it can be solar capable. So it may limit the ability to place a unit in certain locations because we don't want 5 solar panels powering a screen at a bus stop, right? But yeah, definitely there are opportunities to have some different sizes at other locations too.
Okay, and they are going to be audible, right?
That's right. So the trial units will have a button that you can push, and it will read the information that's presented on the screen. The units we do for the pilot will have a requirement for the same expectation.
Okay, and just make sure the buttons that are there to push are easy to push, because people have difficulty pushing buttons sometimes, depending on the disability. It's really hard to push a button. I know I myself carry a pencil with me, so the pencil can push the buttons. So we just have to be careful about pushing buttons. And plus, once screens about 13 inches are going to be pretty difficult for people with visual impairment. And if the screens are too busy, that's also a problem. If you try and make the screens as simple as possible.
Yeah, well, when we get the pilot unit, or sorry, the trial units out, we definitely, are open to some real-time feedback. We program a unit with some, sort of standard setups and expectations of what, we think is relevant. We have feedback from our customer base to say, hey, it's too busy, or it's too simple, or, because you've got too much, it's too small. Maybe we can do with less and make things bigger. As Lorenzo mentioned during the presentation, the font size is adjustable, so key information can be changed, to be larger than some other information. So we can definitely work on that until we've fine-tuned it to be, that niche spot that we really want to hit.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to still on the first-time speakers list, Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, well, good evening, everybody, and good to see you guys. Lorenzo, always
Good to see you, Anthony.
welcome to the new members of our committee. Question for you guys with regards to these units. Would there be an option for Bluetooth connectivity to, adapt to like a smartphone and be able to customize it that way? Just a thought.
Interesting. There's a great example of something that I haven't considered, but definitely something we can take away and ask the vendor, or see what feasibility that has in the current market of products.
Okay, thank you. If you're done, Anthony, we're going to move on to Leaf.
Hi, so can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah,
we can hear you.
All right, so my question would be on regarding the ear jack slots to like put in the headsets, like what type would be considered? Because I know there's the USB slot and then there's also the circular ones. I'm wondering if it would include those variety just in case it would be headset connectors for this project.
So I think I need to take that one away a bit, because I believe I don't believe that's on the trial units, the headset connectors. So we'd have to go back and determine what's required for the headset connectors, or as mentioned with the last question, possibly the Bluetooth connectors, which may be more functional. I'm not quite sure which the best approach is for those at this time, but definitely the headset connectors and the Bluetooth connectors are takeaways for me to take a look at, and really identifying, is it the standard old school headphone jack type that's out there, or is it sort of the newer standard, which is the USB or USB-C. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. I'll have to take that one away.
Thank you for answering my question.
No worries.
Thanks very much, Leaf. Now we're going to move on to Michael, still the first-time speaker.
Hi, Michael.
Hello, Andre. Just a quick question.
Sure.
Will imagery for passengers be inclusive? That's the first question.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the first question.
Will imagery for passengers be inclusive? Question mark. Including images of representations of people from diverse communities and those with differing physical abilities.
If I'm being plain and candid, I'm not sure. I would have to sort of see an example of what you're referencing specifically. because I'm not sure how to answer the question if I'm just being honest. I'd love to see what you're proposing or suggesting maybe included. I just visually I don't have that knowledge to say yes or no one way or the other. It's not familiar to me, but that's why we're here, right? Is to help me get familiar with the things that wouldn't be a norm for me, and make sure we're working together. So I'm definitely happy to connect with you and get some more detail on that.
Thanks, Michael. Actually, could you CC me on that email too when you connect? I wouldn't mind seeing what exactly you're referring to as well. That'd be great. Okay, next up on the speakers list, second time speaker Paula.
Unmuted.
Just not everybody reads English. Will you be having different languages on these things?
So the option does exist for us to put different languages on there. How we go about determining the number of languages, the right languages, how you get to the language of choice is still something we have to work out in the product and identify how that function exists in the product, and be if you have to press the button 10 times to get to your language, that may not be as appealing as Kim said earlier. Pressing the buttons can be kind of frustrating. So we want to look at that as something that is a positive function, not a negative function. So we definitely have multilingual on the table. How it's executed is still one of those requirement gathering pieces.
Thank you. Kara, second time speaker.
Thanks, everyone. What have you thought, I guess, at this point, what your communication plan is for the proof of concept and pilot in terms of communicating with the public, like where these will be located, in case people want to have the opportunity to engage with them and provide feedback rather than by happenstance of just stumbling upon them?
Well, there's some rough conversation about that right now. Right now, we are in the very early steps of this, and this presentation is actually our first engagement outside of our little rooms where we go, oh hey, this is a great idea, right? So this is our first engagement outside of that. So it's a work in progress, but definitely we want to see people participate of all walks of life and give us the good, bad, and ugly of what we're doing here, right? So we can paint a clear picture of what's working, what's not working. Yeah.
It's probably one of the cooler parts of the entire project is just the existence of them. Wherever they do go, they're going to make conversations happen. You're going to have strangers talking to each other about it, and it's neat to be there front line. But absolutely, this is consulting with everyone. Getting feedback is critical to making this work.
Okay, thank you. Is that Tim or Kim with the hand up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Tim this time. So just two comments. Any information that would be shared with any individual on the committee, can it be shared with everybody? So if you're expecting to send an email to somebody, can everybody get copied on that so that everybody is in the loop? That's first comment. Second comment is if you'd like to connect with a site, a consumer group in Hamilton called the CCB, or Canadian Council of the Blind, that would be a very good group to consult, perhaps even before you go to trial on this. And if it's possible to even have something to display, I'm sure the CCB group would be very keen on having some opportunity to review and input, as well as for people who are what is referred to as deaf-blind. Somebody might have some difficulty trying to either hear or see the information on the display screen. And so maybe there would be some other ways of having that information be output. I don't know what the answer would be, but I'm sure people from the deaf-blind community would be able to advise better on how to have that information displayed for them. So I would strongly encourage that consultation before you even get to the point to try out the product. And if you'd like, I can share information with you about how to connect with the CCB.
Yeah, if you have a contact, we absolutely appreciate that. That assists me without having to start at the ground level and figure out who the right person to talk to. So if you've got the right person, I'm happy to take that contact information and make that connection. I will mention the loaner units, the configuration. We can configure fonts and stuff like that. We can't change the units themselves for the trial period ones, but what we can do is we can take our learning from the trial period and put that into our RFP. Right? What's missing? What did they do right? What did they do wrong? What needs to be improved? It could be a perfect unit. It may not be a perfect unit. I have, until it's in our hands and we have, a bunch of different people and community members, trying their hand at it and giving us that feedback. It's all pie in the sky right now, right? It looks great. It feels like it has some fantastic opportunity, but that can also present blinders if we're not really giving it that bench test and giving everyone a chance to have an opportunity to provide feedback.
Sure. So just to give you an example of case in point, if there is a plug-in capability, and this comes back to what one of our previous committee members was asking about, the connection. It is possible that somebody could actually plug in a portable Braille display monitor, and anything that's on the visual monitor could actually then be downloaded and displayed for refreshable Braille on a portable device. So somebody who is deafblind, for example, might be able to know what's happening because they can download that information onto a portable device.
That's very cool. I didn't even know those units existed, but that's very cool to learn.
Absolutely, and so it's just a brief point of information that might be very, very helpful when you're communicating with folks from CCB. And I will share that information with Clerk Carey, and she can pass that along to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, the units themselves, there are customizable features that once we know what is needed and order them, they can be integrated into it. So everything we discover will be a big help.
Thank you. Quick question or a quick comment regarding a couple of people mentioned about the Bluetooth connectivity. I just wanted to make sure that if you are gonna look into that, then you try to future-proof that the limitations of Bluetooth of one-to-one connectivity. There's a new feature that was released not last November, but a year and a bit ago in November by Bluetooth, which is called AuraCast, which is one-to-many. So if there's any kind of capability that's actually implemented in these devices, it should be AuraCast Bluetooth 5.3 or higher to make sure that multiple people can connect to the sound at any given time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And some of this technology, we have to look at what exists in the marketplace as what's currently being used and what would be something that falls in our sandbox as a development item. So if the ask doesn't exist in the current marketplace, then somebody has to lead the way to make it exist. And typically that is a development that there has to be an investment into. So the first step will be to identify, if these additional functions and features exist in the marketplace for Bluetooth connectivity, what the current range of options are in that, and definitely we'd want to look to future-proof or ensure we get our value. Again, the more stuff we add, the more power consumption, the more difficult it becomes to be versatile. So we, with everything we ask for, we have to measure it against what the unit is expected to do. So we want all the bells and whistles. We want the Cadillac. We want everyone to be happy. But we have to measure that against like I said, the power requirements, the existing in the marketplace, I would probably have a bit of a difficult time if I had to, go to council and say, hey, they've got this new technology, but I need to invest $200,000 to develop it into these units. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get too far with that, off out the gate, right? But I'm not opposed to making the ask, but I have to have a decent business case to make the ask. And right now, because we ourselves are in the infancy of requirement gathering and understanding these products and capabilities, and taking it out to you guys and the all of our customers, to get this feedback. We want all the feedback. We want to know about the Bluetooth. We want to know about the plug-in units. We want to know about the different members of the community that aren't here today, that need some representation and consideration in this product. And we are going to do everything we can to make sure everything's included, so everyone is included. But again, measuring it against the product capabilities, the power consumption, the flexibility of the unit. If something can't be done, we'll have a reason why it can't be done, and what those considerations are for why it can't be done. But I don't want to cross anything out yet. I want to take everything away. I just don't have any answers as to whether Bluetooth is even an option.
I can quickly answer that, Andre. For hearing loop systems and beacon technology, they do have, and beacon is like low power Bluetooth. They are upgrades, but yeah, it's about like, well, how well do they work, and do they meet the needs of users? But this is me knowing from the tech manuals of the technology that a hearing loop system and beacons are possible upgrades that we can look at.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, I just want to prepare everybody that these additional things are other things that have to be measured and tested against, right? So we want to look at all the feedback, we want to get it right, and all the things that are asked for. We're going to come back and talk about them. We're going to say, hey, yeah, we can do this, we can't do this, and here's why, and then we decide if that's acceptable or not, right? If that's something it's feasible for us to move forward with or not.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, just quickly, Mark and Anthony left, and we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah. First thing is you talked about Burlington. Are you on some sort of share this fact finding? Like, I mean, is there other data from other municipalities that you could grab and borrow and use? And the other thing was you have to be careful with durability versus accessibility, because some people don't like stuff sticking on posts, and maybe they just feel they have to push it off. But accessibility doesn't really like those really hard surfaces, like those really hard covers. Makes it more difficult for other people to use them. But at the same time, nobody's going to steal it, because they're going to have the LTE right to their backpack.
Yeah, no, one of our top considerations is vandalism. That's our biggest concern. We don't want to put in a unit that costs money and find that it lasts a week and somebody's damaged. These have some serious community bench testing against them with regards to vandalism and vandalism mitigation solutions within, but that is definitely one of our first and foremost concerns. It doesn't help any member of the community if the unit's not turned on, right? So it's and the last thing I want to do is come back and say, hey, we put in these 6 units, they lasted 2 months, can we go get another 100 units? No, that's not going to fly anywhere. So absolutely, vandalism is one of our things. We have been talking to some of our partners who have also been doing pilots with digital displays. A few of our neighboring municipalities have been doing some. Burlington is one of them. We've had some candid conversations with the tech who did that pilot. As Lorenzo mentioned, we actually went on location and had great conversation with a member of the public about the unit directly. So there's some really positive feedback that really kind of motivated us to dig into this a lot, a lot more, right? And we will be continuing those relationships to find out what they learn as well, because they're also they're a bit farther ahead of us, but because they've got boots on the ground and they've got product in the ground, but they're still in a learning requirement as well. So we will be tapping on everybody's shoulders.
Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it, and I look forward to getting feedback and coming back to the committee and chatting some more about progress and connecting with the members that I had mentioned earlier that I would connect with. Happy to do so, and yeah, I appreciate you guys allowing us to come to the committee and share the product.
You're not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, we're not done yet.
Love the excitement.
One more person on the speakers list, and then I have a couple of comments, and then we're wrapped up.
All right, apologies.
That's okay. You're just getting ahead of yourself there. Sorry.
All right,
Anthony.
Yeah, right, guys. Two-part question. Will these units come equipped with contact information to report any type of vandalism, misinformation, maintenance to you guys, whether it be like an email address or a phone number to contact, just to
I expect that I expect the pilot units will have a type of label for communication on it. I don't want to busy the digital screen, so I don't think we'll be putting stickers on the trial units because they're not ours. And we don't want to necessarily overpopulate the screen with, you can reach us here. But we will take a look at the mechanisms for reporting for sure to make sure that we can get that quick. And we'll also have communication to our transit staff, inspectors, and transit operators to make sure they're reporting as well when they see something out of place. So,
Okay, thank you. Paula, if you could take over just for a minute.
Unmuted.
Can I take over? Because I'm not
take
there.
Over, please.
Okay, I have the chair.
I just have three quick questions. Well, not three quick questions, three suggestions, because I don't really need an answer, but they should be pointed out. The audio button on the control panel needs to be a high contrast button. It needs to be something that's bright enough for people with vision impairments, not necessarily blindness, but visual impairments to see. There should also be pictograms. Example for the audio button should be a pictogram of a speaker so that people know that's what that is for people who are not comfortable with language. And the mechanism to move it at the back, it needs to be bright, it needs to be high contrast, and it needs to be very simple to use for people who are in a chair, for example, using it one-handed to move it up or down. So those are my three suggestions, and that's it. Thanks very much, guys. I really do appreciate you coming and taking the time.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys having us, and we look forward to connecting again, and we'll reach out soon.
Thanks so much,
You
everyone.
have the chair back, by the way, James.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that chair back then. Yes, thank you. Can I get a mover and a seconder to approve the presentation? To receive their presentation. I apologize. First is Tim Murphy. Second is Mark. Are there any opposed to receiving the presentation? I see no hands, so we're good. The presentation is received. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you. Take care, all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Section 9, consent items. In the interest of time, we're going to hear all the consent items, 9.1 and 9.6, and then receive them together at the end. So I'll start with built environments. This is a little weird because we're in the middle of changing over.
Unmuted.
Yeah, we don't have anything really.
Well, you don't have an update, but a lot of the people here haven't, don't know about it. So I'm not sure, do we ask questions? Is there any questions or do we just move on?
We should send out Kerry should send out something to say what all the working groups are. And
I'm
what
writing that now.
Yeah, okay.
But in the meantime, we're just accepting them and moving on. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, so go ahead. There's nothing to report, Paula?
Nope.
On both 9.1 A and B?
Nope.
Okay.
If you read them, they're very self-explanatory. So.
I will say the same about housing issues and outreach working group meeting notes as well. So transportation, that's you again, Paula.
Muted. Unmuted.
We didn't have a meeting
We didn't have a
in,
meeting, that's right. So no
December
transportation upgrade updates.
no.
9.5 is easy, strategic planning. We haven't met for a while. We need to set up a meeting eventually. 9.6, accessible open spaces and parklands working group. Is there a verbal update, Tim?
No report at this time.
Okay, no report at this time. Well, that was very easy. So can I get a mover and a seconder to receive all the communication items, 9.1 to 9.6? Moved by Councillor Taddison, seconded by Paula. Oh, I'll get you next time, Lance. Are there any opposed to receiving the communication items? I see none. So the communications items are received. Next up, 12, motions. So I would have to hand this off to Paula, yes. Paula, can you please take the chair?
I have the chair, sir. So we have a motion on the floor. It's by James, but we don't have a seconder. So do we have a seconder for the motion?
Mark seconding.
Mark, okay. So James, you may discuss your motion.
Okay, let me just, I guess I'll just quickly read it out. It's regarding the name change of the ACPD. As some of you are aware, we've been asked to update our name to be more in compliance with being a subcommittee. And we took a poll last month or the month before that regarding the choices we had for the motion. And we had an overwhelming winner of, as opposed to the Advisory Committee for Persons with Disability, we're going to change it to the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disability. And so I will just read the motion quickly. Changing the name Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities, ACPD, to Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, ACPD. Whereas the Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities is mandated under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act, AODA, and is subcommittee of council reporting to the General Issues Committee. Whereas the AODA requires municipalities having a population of not less than 10,000 to establish an Accessibility Advisory Committee, but provides no direction or requirement for it to be named an Accessibility Advisory Committee. Whereas removing the word advisory and replacing it with accessibility will provide clarity on the status of ACPD as a subcommittee of council. Therefore, be it resolved that the Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities be renamed the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities.
Okay. Is there any questions about this motion?
I don't see anyone waving their hand, Paula.
Good, thank you. So can we have a vote then to move this forward to GIC? All in favor? Or anybody against? Sorry. No.
I don't see
Okay.
anybody opposed, Paula.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay.
James, you have the chair back.
I will take back the chair. Thank you very much. And now we're on to 14, general information. Now, we suggested that we have a brief introduction around the room for all the people that are new and the people that are returning, but we are in a public forum and it is being recorded. So I'm only going to ask that people introduce themselves briefly and what they're comfortable providing over a public forum. So I will go first, just to break the ice. My name is James Kemp. I've been a member since 2019 of the committee. I was a vice chair for a couple of years, and I've been a chair for a couple of months. I represent people with invisible disabilities, people with mobility devices, people with learning disabilities, caregivers, and so on and so forth. I wear the zebra, and that's it. Who wants to go next? Oh, Levi. Levi's next. I see Levi.
I'll go next. My name is Levi Genosi. I am the president of the Hard of Hearing Association of Hamilton branch, and it's a national charity organization. And I represent people who are hard of hearing. Also, I have been working in the past many times with other disabilities as well, so I think I fit this with this board quite well. So
excellent.
That's it. Thank you.
Tim, anything you'd like to say?
Oh, sure. Got an hour and a half. Anyway, no, I'm Tim Murphy, and I've been on this board since 2010.
Yeah.
And I've been volunteering all my life, first at St. Peter's, then with the police for 12 years, St. Peter's for 20, the city with the tourism office for 7, and I had a stroke when I was young, when I was 2.5. So I get to, when I was at St. Peter's, I got to see people who had some form of disorder or something wrong, and they were able to relate to me a little bit better because they could say, how did you get through it? And I just told them it was easy, and I broke it down to where it was nothing. So I can relate to someone who has a disorder or disability. And for me, it's just about communication. The more communication, the easier it becomes. Okay?
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Tim. Thank you for sharing. Lance. I will get to everybody.
Yes, my name is Lance Allen Dingman, and I've been volunteering for quite some time myself. I volunteer in mental health. I've been volunteering at Westmouth Hospital, gratefully, since 1992. I can't believe it's been that long. I have been, since COVID, I've only had a few shifts, but I'm going back to a regular shift starting Friday, and I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Excellent.
And I'm a peer provider. I work at Westmouth Hospital too as well. I belong to the Mental Health Rights Coalition. I'm a board member, and I love my coalition. I'm involved with it since it opened, since 1995, and it's been a strong identity in this community, and it served a lot of people, and must say, it saved a lot of lives. That's the job's for, and this job's for too as well.
Thanks very much, Lance. Next up is Councillor Taddison, if anything you'd like to share.
Hey, I'm Councillor Mark Taddison. I represent Ward 11 Glanbrook. I sit on the committee because I want to be here to help serve and give voice to this committee and share my opinions and help forward motions that come from here in council to give better representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taddison. Next up is Anthony, I see.
Okay, my name is Anthony Frazina. This is my second term on this committee. I'm the founder of a brand called Above and Beyond. I'm an author, speaker, actor, consultant, host a TV show right here on Cable 14, Mondays at 9. And I do a lot of work in the community, amplifying the importance of eradicating the attitudinal barriers and promoting accessibility awareness and inclusion.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And I see Kara is next.
Hi, thank you everyone for having me here today, and nice to meet everyone. My name is Kara Hernold. This is my first time participating on this committee, and this is my first term. I joined you after suffering a near fatal accident and beginning to live a new life with a disability. And I'm representing folks with some invisible disabilities and lung and airway disabilities and the lower capacity to participate. So thank you everyone for having me here, and I look forward to advocating with you.
Thank you very much, Kara. Next up on the list is Jake.
Hi, my name is Jake. I am also new to the committee. It's my first time meeting with you folks. I was previously on the LGBTQ advisory committee. I am a wheelchair user, and I also have a service dog.
Thank you very much, Jake. Nice to meet you. Next up is Leaf.
Hi, my name is Leaf, and I'm currently a human resources management graduate who has currently done work placement where I was tasked with looking over different work policies to ensure that the workplace would be more inclusive. And I'm also currently a member of a human resources professional association where I was able to learn about what workplaces can be done to make sure that it's more accommodating. And this is my first time at this committee, and also the first year that I'm part of this committee. And reason I want to join this committee is to ensure that I hope that with my knowledge of everything I learned, plus also of my personal disabilities of being a former cancer survivor and also being diagnosed with ASD, that I'd be able to show my insights on any future motions I'll be going forward.
Thank you very much, Steve. Welcome. Next up is Mark McNeil.
Hi, Mark McGill. This is my second term, and I joined for the same reasons everybody else did, is to make sure that we have voices that are heard at City Council, and just to put our 2 cents in. And I also am on the collaborative, McMaster Collaborative for Health and Aging, which is a group that helps to fund or research PhDs and master's students to make sure that they realize that they need to have input in from our communities as well. And I've worked with AHA, Tim's organization, on the side. And basically, I just retired from the federal government, and I'm hoping to sort of segue some of that free time now into the ACPD.
Thank you very much, Mark. Paula.
Unmuted.
Hi, my name is Paula Kilburn. I've been on this committee for 13 years now. I think I've chaired every working. Volunteered for the CNIB. I volunteered for them for 27 years. And never hold this against me, okay? I'm the chair of the board of directors for DART. So, you know, don't hold it against me. But I'm here to make sure everybody doesn't matter what disability they have, I'm here to give them a voice. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Next up on the list is Hope.
Hi, sorry. My name is Hope. I am currently a student. I bring a perspective of having family members who are a part of the disabled community, and I guess my student background is in political science as well. So I hope that that also helps to bring that perspective.
Thank you very much, Hope. Next up would be the Nolans, in whichever order you would like.
Hi, my name is Tim Nolan. I guess I could be like perhaps the grandfather of this committee. I've been on it since 2002. I was a member of the committee's previous iteration called the Regional Advisory Committee for Persons with Disabilities back in the late 80s and the 90s. I'm retired from McMaster from the Student Accessibility Services, and I have started up a new group called the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance, of which Mark was mentioning. I just want to try and help Hamilton to become the most accessible place for people with disabilities to live, if not in Ontario, in Canada. And so my interest is really just to do what I can, where I can, and in the best way I can to help make Hamilton accessible for everybody, and particularly everybody on this committee.
Thank you, Tim.
And
Kim.
Kim Nolan. I'm Kim Nolan, Tim's better half. And I've been around as long, I think I joined in 2006. So I've been around the table for a long time, but I'm very interested to represent all people with disabilities and keep my eyes open all the time for things that are wrong in the city so that we can make Hamilton the best place to live with a disability. So hopefully that'll be it in our country.
Thank you very much, Kim. And the last person that we actually have in attendance is Michael.
Hi, everyone. This is my first meeting. Really grateful to be here. I have partially invisible disability in that I have MS and was diagnosed a good number of years ago. I'm attending PACE to kind of help me reorient my body, but I'm excited to lend my voice to individuals who might not have representation.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. It's good to meet everybody. And welcome again to the new term. Now, as that's it for the rest of the other business, unless everybody else has any other business they'd like to bring up.
James?
Yeah, I got Tim and Kim just beat you, so hang on.
Okay.
Tim or Kim?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I don't know if there will be working group meetings this month if we don't select new members to working groups. Is that something we are hoping to do today, or is that going to be done in February?
That will be done in February, Tim.
Okay.
Message from Bates. Tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Paula?
That was my question too.
Oh, yeah. We'll sort all that out and get out descriptions of the working group so people know what's coming, what their options are, what they'd like to get involved in, and then we'll have the discussion at the February meeting. Lance.
James, I was wondering if the Rising Star document, if people had thoughts, suggestions for me, if they could either email me or bring them back to the next meeting. I don't know, James, what's appropriate.
Okay, if anybody have any comments to the Rising Star report that went out, I'm sure some of the new members could probably have it sent out to them. Please just let Lance know and he'll get it down. Is that good, Lance?
Yes,
yeah?
thank you so much, everyone.
That's good. Okay, is that it for other business? Nobody else has anything else I'd like to speak to at this moment? We might actually be able to wrap up just a little bit early. No? Okay, so can we have a motion to adjourn on the floor? Oh, Tim Murphy's favorite time. And Mark is going to second this. All right, so Tim Murphy and seconded by Mark. Are there any opposed to adjourning? I don't think so. All right, thanks very much, everybody. It was a great first meeting. I'm glad to meet everybody and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Nice to meet everybody. Bye, guys.